Hey, what's up, guys? What's up? Welcome back to another awesome analysis session with me, T.Mayne. Now, in this one, guys, we're gonna go through four different pairs. We're gonna go through the DXY, Aussie Swiss franc. We're gonna go through USDZAR and gold. Now, I guess it's kind of interesting to note that each of these pairs are going to require a different level of patience from us all, I guess. But I guess if we are patient enough to wait for these pairs to give us those setups, guys, these pairs really have the probability, the possibility, the whatever you want to call it, to give us some good trading opportunities, guys. So let's get into DXY from a daily perspective, guys. On DXY, on a daily perspective, what we do have, guys, is a market that has violated some structural lows to the downside from a daily perspective. So daily structure came from these areas here, made a move to the upside, swing low, and then this push to the upside. So we understood that from a daily perspective, these swing lows were the swing lows that were holding this previous uptrend to the upside. Now these lows have been violated to the downside, already signaling that either there is some complex structure that is forming within these areas, or the trend that had been established has now been violated and could potentially change direction. So that's kind of what we're looking for, or what we're looking at on the DXY. Currently, we're basically looking to see some dollar strength out of the DXY. So we have one of two scenarios that we could be looking for this dollar strength to come in. First scenario that I will be looking at is for prices to continue in this bearish trend below this trend line until we come to these support trend lines down here before we see some sort of a rejection to the upside. Now, the other scenario that I have in mind is if prices on Monday, sometime during the day, actually violate this trend line to the upside. Once we see a violation of this descending trend line, guys, that will then be the point where I will start to look for any reversal structures for some upside momentum from the dollar. So this is sort of the setup that I'm going to be looking at through the coming week. I want to see some dollar strength. I would like to see this trend line being violated to the upside, considering the nature of this descending structure here. We can see prices have been sort of stumbling down this downtrend on the H4. Now, that is obviously, if we look at the nature of the price action, this price action on our left hand side looks a lot more impulsive to the upside than this whole structure that has moved to the downside. So we're expecting that this structure that has been holding to the downside eventually will break to the upside in the direction of this previous momentum that we see coming in from these areas here to the upside. So that's something that we're going to be looking at on the DXY for next week, guys. I'm going to be looking for some dollar strength. Let's go on to Aussie Swiss franc. On Aussie Swiss franc, guys, let's just head up to the daily quickly. Remember, guys, there is going to be analysis on our pairs, because the analysis that I'm doing right now is just based off the analysis that we have done in our live session on Saturday morning. So we're just going through that for you guys, just so that we can spread the value. We can make sure that everyone's looking for similar trading opportunities, that maybe we see similar or inverse things that allow us to kind of give the market some second thoughts, to just go a little bit deeper as to why we're looking at what we're looking at. So basically, on Aussie Swiss franc, guys, we've marked out this descending trend line over there. The support trend line down here. We've marked in this resistance trend line up the top there. We do see some sort of a structure. Now, this structure here, guys, could be a continuation structure, considering on the daily where this momentum has come in from. The momentum has come in from the downside, and then we are now seeing a corrective structure, and obviously we could see that continuation to the upside. Now, that is one thing that could happen long term. Otherwise, what could happen long term, guys, is that this could be the end of the structure. We can see prices have been bullish for a very long time on the daily, with no real significant large corrective structure. So this could be the beginning of this corrective structure, obviously trapping traders before we see some downside continuation out of some Aussie Swiss franc. So these are basically what could happen, I guess, long term. But we'll go down on to our H4 and refine what we're looking at so that we can be able to capitalize on a trading opportunity that might come within next week. Now, what we can see, guys, as traders, we know that we want to be looking for opportunities to buy assets when they are cheap, so buying down low, and we want to be able to sell assets when they're expensive, so selling up high. Now, that's exactly the same concept that we're going to employ with the whole concept of our bias, why we're establishing a bias, why we're looking to trade in the direction that we're looking for. First of all, we have some momentum coming in from the daily from the bottom. We also see some momentum coming in on the H4 from these support structures over there. So we're looking to be bullish bias if prices do pull lower into this support trend line, guys. We do have a small resistance here on the H4 that was violated to the upside, so we could be looking for prices to tap into this resistance and then look for our upside momentum. Or we could be looking for prices to come down and tap into this support structure over here and then give us an opportunity to ride higher prices. So nonetheless, guys, regardless of how the market will give us this setup, I'm planning to be bullish bias on Aussie Swiss franc just because we do have the opportunity to be buyers down low in the direction of some recent momentum that we've seen coming in, and as well as some previous daily and weekly momentum that we've seen coming in from there. Now, obviously, this is just a short-term bias for myself. I would love to long-term be sell bias on this pair, so I'm going to be looking to manage my position by the time we get to these resistance structures over here, depending on how we reach these resistance structures over here, and depending on what structures we present as we approach, or maybe when we get into these areas here. That will be my area where I will revalidate or analyze my bias. I will change my bias once prices get to these areas here. So as long as prices are remaining below this trend line over here, I'm going to want to try and hold a buy bias, because we are still above this support trend line down there. And remember, we want to be buying, or we want to be buyers from support. So Aussie Swiss franc, guys, we're going into next week with a bullish bias, looking to manage our bias or manage the trade that we enter once prices get to these price regions there. So that's it for Aussie Swiss franc. Let's go on to USDZAR. Now on USDZAR, guys, on the daily, we still have this descending structure that we have over there. I do see some analysis here, guys. Sorry, this is from Saturday, but nonetheless, guys, let's get into what we do see here from a daily perspective. What we can see, guys, and I guess this is also important to denote because this is such beautiful price action here on USDZAR. So guys, we do have this descending structure, right? We obviously know that descending structures normally break to the upside. We also have some support over there. We'll wait for that to load. Some support over there on our left hand side, some weekly support where we saw a whole lot of buyers coming into, and that's the reason we're looking to take, or we're looking to be biased by the time prices get to these price regions. Where will we also be in terms of touches? We have a touch there, we have a touch there, we have a touch there, and we could obviously assume that when prices come down and touch the support trend line, that we could see a reaction or even some long-term bullish momentum out of USDZAR, just because of the nature of this descending structure to the downside. We expect the next impulsive move out of USDZAR to be to the upside. So we have that information, guys, from a daily perspective, that we can see some long-term bullishness from this market. So we are looking long-term, guys. We honestly want to be looking for those reversal structures when prices do approach, or when prices do get into the support area, because this is where we will have the appropriate probabilities and awesome risk to reward ratio, guys, to capitalize on this trade to the upside, as well as any scale in opportunities that this trade might present on its way to potentially complete the 90% rule at the beginning of this corrective structure to the downside, guys. So the new buying momentum that might come in from these support areas could take us all the way up to the top here. So there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities for us to scale into positions and maximize on this one winning trade. So guys, long term on USDZAR, I'm definitely going to want to align myself on the buy side of things, but short term, let's look at the structure that we have here. So previously guys, we did have a smaller triangle structure, a smaller corrective structure like that, and we were looking for a push to the upside above structural highs first before we get a move to the downside. Now we can see that has happened, and obviously guys, we want to always accommodate for current price action. So we've moved our trend line to accommodate for this current price action, and now you see we have a new 3-touch structure. So prices could potentially come up to this 3rd touch where we will have beautiful probabilities and I guess an okay risk to reward ratio to capitalize on any downside momentum that we could see. We also will have the confluence of this descending trend line that is coming in from the top, our higher time frame descending trend line, that could also function as resistance if prices pull up into these price regions here. So guys, this is a spot that I will definitely be looking at in the course of next week for those selling opportunities, because I will definitely find a good trading opportunity within those areas. There's a nice confluence, there's beautiful risk to reward ratio. Obviously I'm going to be targeting the beginning of this structure over here, so probably just above there. This is the kind of trade that I would be looking to get into, just targeting till there. I know I definitely will find a 1:3 risk to reward ratio from those areas till these areas here to be able to capitalize on a nice short-term trade. And then obviously once prices get to these areas here, I will then begin to re-evaluate my bias for some possible long opportunities. So guys, on USDZAR, this is the bias. Short term guys, we're looking to capitalize on this down move, and then obviously long term, once prices do get into these support structures, then we will need to reanalyze our bias, relook at things, draw market structure if we need to, all that nice good stuff, and then start to look for opportunities in the opposite direction. So now you guys have a short-term outlook and as well as a long-term outlook on what we're looking for on USDZAR. Let's go over to the last pair we're gonna have a look at, guys, and that is gold. So on gold, let's go up to the daily quickly just for some reference. So guys, on the daily, what we can see is some previous resistance structures over there. If we have a look at the daily, guys, we see some support, we see some resistance, we see lower prices, we see lower highs over there, and we see prices breaking down below this support structure over here. We do see some intermediate structure down over there, but guys, obviously we can see that prices or sellers weren't able to push prices lower than buyers that came in from those areas there. Buyers were able to break some resistance over there, obviously looking for the next area of resistance, which we can see on a daily time frame. Now if we drop down our time frames and go down to the H4, what we will be able to see on the H4 is a nice beautiful corrective structure, with our first touch being there, second touch being over there. Someone could fight for this third touch over there, which is something that we should keep in mind, but we could come and get that final touch, which will also be at this resistance area, guys, where there is going to be a lot of confluence for a buying opportunity. Now occasionally, guys, prices do give us that second touch, third touch quickly, and then just establish a double top structure before a break lower of prices. But obviously let's not assume that that's going to happen and jump into a premature trade. Let's wait for prices to deliver us slightly higher opportunities to become a seller, because remember guys, we want to sell high, we want to sell something when it's expensive so that we profit, and we want to buy something when it's cheap so that we profit there. So guys, in terms of managing this position, obviously like I just said, guys, we're going to be looking for those short opportunities. Obviously the picture perfect setup that the market would give us is a one more push to the upside, which then we'll begin to start looking for our potential risk entries. If we don't find a risk entry, then obviously a reduced risk entry will present itself along the way. We don't know how that's gonna come, but nonetheless guys, I am definitely on gold looking to be short-term sell biased. hoping for prices to at least give me one more tap of this resistance structure before any moves to the downside. In terms of managing this position, I'm going to look to manage my full position by the time prices reach this support structure. Why won't I hold until prices reach this support structure over here? Is because, guys, if we look at stuff from a higher time frame, this could function as a larger time frame double bottom structure, and obviously prices might not even want to break below these resistance areas up here. So maybe I would even manage my trade, or manage half of my trade by the time I get there and the rest by the time I get there. But looking at things from a structural perspective, if we see market made this push to the upside from here, we find resistance, we find support, and we violate previous resistance over there from these areas here. So I know for a fact that buyers came in, buyers were interested, and the buying pressure was so much from these areas that we managed to break above an area where we saw previous sellers jumping in to the market, pushing prices lower. So for a fact, I know that there's gonna be some buying interest over there. So that's the reason why I would love to manage my full position by the time we get into those areas. And then obviously I'm hoping for that long-term sell to the downside. Now this is my bias on DXY, on Aussie Swiss franc, on the USDZAR, and on gold. I hope you guys enjoyed the analysis, guys. Today's analysis, I wanted it to be as precise and as to the point as possible. I didn't want to digress too much on the concepts and all of that stuff. I just wanted to deliver all the value straight there so that you guys are up to date with what we're doing next week, what we're looking for, and which directions will give us those trading opportunities. Now obviously, guys, thank you for watching till the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys found value, whether it's through a concept, whether it's through just what we're looking for next week, guys, if you feel like you're going into next week just a little bit of a better trader than you were last week, drop this video a like, guys. It does mean so much to me to be able to see that someone is gaining value from this content. Now guys, this is T.Mayne. I'll see you guys in the next analysis videos.